Ինչպես է տրամադրությունը Gyumriում, չհամոզվեցիք, ինչպես է տրամադրությունը Gyumriում, իսկ հիմա հարցս հետևյալ ձև ձևակերպեմ, ինչպես ենք դիմավորելու Նիկոլին, Չգիտես ինչ այսպես լավ չեք համոզում, ես ուզում եմ մեկ անգամ ես համոզվել, ինչպես է տրամադրությունը Gyumriում, այ հիմա համոզվեցիք, մեկ անգամ ես խնդրում եմ, լրագրողների համար նախատեսված է հարթակի դիմացում, կարող եք այս աշխատել, այս հարցակում, բացի լրագրողներից են ոչ ոք չի մնում, մեր ակտիվիստները շատ արագ կոտրեն, կարգավոր են, ինչպես աշխատում եմ հարթակի վրայից, լրագրողներն են, տեխնիկական աշխատակիցները և մեր կամավորներն, ովքեր կարգուկանոնը մենք սկսում ենք յուրաքանչյուրս մեզնից, պայմանավորվեցինք, ևս մեկ հայտարարություն գիտեք, չէ՞ սա մեր տունն է, այդպես է։ Այսօր որ մենք կանգնած ենք, մեր տունն է։ Այսինքն ինչ ենք անելու մեր տունը, մաքուր ենք պահելու։ Բրավո Արոն, քեզ։ Աղբը չենք գծում։ Պայմանավորվեցինք։
Նշենք, որ Նիկոլ Փաշինյանի հետ այս պահին Գյումրին ուղղավորվում հարյուրավոր մեքենա։
Մեկականի ուսեք բոլորս միասին։ Ո՛վ ջույն Նիկոլ։
Այդ մեքենաների մի մասը արդեն հասել է Գյումրիում է, մյուս մասը դեռ ճանապարհին է։
Շնորհակալություն։ Սիրելի հայրենակիցներ, շատ ուրախալի լուր ունեմ հաղորդելու, բոլորս շատ լավ ճանաչում ենք ոչ միայն մենք, այլ կարծիքով ամբողջ Հայաստանը ճանաչում են մեր շատ սիրելի Արսինե Խանջյանի, ես ուզում եմ ողջունել ենք նրան, ու պետք է նույնպես քիչ հետո միանալու են մեզ, մեկականի ես բոլորս երասին բարձր ողջունում ենք Արսինեին։
Take place not in Yerevan's Republic Square as it has been over the course of these 2 weeks, but in Gyumri. You can see the shots of the crowd. The change of location certainly does not look like it has impacted the audience. On the way out to Gyumri today, we've heard from our reporters that are also there live with the Armenian feed that you can find on Facebook. They were stuck in traffic for a while this afternoon. The line of cars to get out there was pretty intense and heavy. And so we noticed that the starting time of this public rally is later than the 6 o'clock time that they had announced. Again, this is now 2 full weeks into these public demonstrations and acts of civil disobedience that started with the Reject Serge movement and then has come through and now become, you can call it the Reject HHK movement or the continuation of that movement. As Nikol Pashinyan and others in the protest movement have said, this is not about one person and rejecting one person. This is about an institutional change that they are looking to have take in Armenia. And again, it's not just one individual, they said. It's not just Serge Sargsyan, but in fact, it is a whole institution that they are looking to change. And so today, the movement has moved to Gyumri. Yesterday, while we were listening to Nikol Pashinyan on stage, what he indicated to the audience, and as it pertains directly to why we're in Gyumri today, he said he wanted to take this to Gyumri on Friday, which is today. He will be taking it out to Vanadzor tomorrow on Saturday, that public rally will start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, local time. That is GMT. 3 o'clock local GMT will be the rally on Saturday from Vanadzor. What he was looking for again in Yerevan was that people should take a rest and take a little bit of a break, he said, because come Sunday, April 29th, Monday, April 30th, and then Tuesday, May 1st, 3 very important and pivotal days here within the framework of what the Constitution requests in terms of getting a new government and a new prime minister in place and moving, is going to be the large rallies that he is looking to have here in Yerevan again. Also, of course, as always, throughout Armenia. However, the important thing here is going to be for him that people in Yerevan have a little bit of a breather, can take a break to be able to then, as he said, join him early on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday are non-working days here in Armenia, and so we should expect, as we saw in this previous weekend, just before the resignation of Serge Sargsyan, that we should see a large crowd come and make it to those events. At least that's what we would anticipate. Certainly that remains to be seen. But again, based on what you're seeing here in the crowd, the number of people that have made it out to Gyumri and that are participating here, we would anticipate that the numbers that we've seen here in Yerevan would at least maintain and if not grow from there. So again, today in Gyumri, tomorrow in Vanadzor, and then on Sunday the protest movement returns back here to Yerevan. Over the course of this public rally, we will be having live Armenian to English interpretation as we have been providing over the last 2 nights. We will also be providing some context and reporting as to what is taking place here in Gyumri during the rally, what has been happening within the movement itself, and where the movement is headed and what we can sort of project in terms of what actions are being taken, what the play is on behalf of the opposition here, the movement and the demonstrators, as well as on the part of the currently elected government in parliament, specifically as it relates to the Republican or the HHK party. Again, we thank you for watching ＳիվիլՆեթ TV here on YouTube. We will be coming back with a little bit more information. We'll let you guys listen to some of the music and dancing that is taking place here right now, and we'll come back just momentarily with a little bit more context as we continue throughout this evening, and we'll have more as we go on.
Հայրենակիցներ, մենք տեղեկություն ունենք, որ քիչ առաջ Նիկոլը Փաշինյանը իր ընկերների, իր թիմով արդեն հասել է Ազատանգյուղ, շատ կարճ է մնացել, նրանք կամաց մոտենում են Gyumri քաղաքին։ Ես ուզում եմ առիթը բաց չթողնել, քանի որ խոսք գնաց Ազատանգյուղից, իդեպ ասեմ, որ մեր ազատանցիները միշտ եղել են մեր կողքին, Ախուրյանից, Ազատանից, Աշոցք, հիմա էլ այստեղ Արտիկ, Բարալիկ, թող մնացածները ներողամիտ լինեն, ինձ շատ խնդրում են, ամբողջ Շիրակի մարզը, այսպես ասեմ, Gyumri քաղաքի հետ միասին, այստեղ են, պատրաստ են ու եղել են միշտ մեր կողքին։ Եկեք մեկ անգամ ևս, հայերս, բոլորս միասին։ Ողջույնի կող։ Ողջույնի կող։ Կեցեց հայեր, ես ձեզ շատ եմ սիրում։ Սիվիլի հայրենակիցներ, մենք արդեն ունենք տեղեկություն, որ Նիկոլ Փաշինյանը իր խմբի իր թիմի հետ միասին արդեն մուտք է գործում Gyumri քաղաք։ Եկեք ողջունենք բոլորս միասին, շատ բարձր։ Ավելի բարձր ենք ողջունել, որովհետեւ մեր ձայները հասնում մինչև Նիկոլին։ Ով է տեր այս երկրի։
Right now from the stage, we will be bringing you live but at this time, from the stage, they're announcing that Nicol, again, as we mentioned earlier, traffic is a bit heavy, and so it's taken a little bit longer for Nicol and some of the other activists to arrive in Gyumri. So the announcement from the stage was just that he just entered the city limits and should be here, by here meaning the stage, momentarily. And they've been asking the crowd to make some more noise, to cheer and get excited for the activists and the speeches that are here to come. Again, this is in Gyumri. It has been an interesting development seeing where this movement has gone. Certainly interesting to note that this is where Nicol Pashinyan started his movement a little over 2 weeks ago, as he started this movement, this protest movement, by marching from Gyumri to Yerevan, signifying his opposition to the ultimately the nomination and then confirmation of Serj Sargsyan as the Prime Minister of Armenia. From that point, when he arrived in Yerevan, these protests and the acts of civil disobedience started. They have taken on not quite a life of their own, but they have been very decentralized in their movements, so that these acts of civic disobedience have taken on or have gone throughout Armenia. This is not just something that's happened in Yerevan and now is taking place in Gyumri, but in fact throughout the course of these 2 weeks, these acts have happened across the country, within different villages, within different towns. You know, all the Kyurs, the Marzes, they've all participated in one way or another. And we get this from different feeds, from live streams, from their posts on social media, from their sending in submissions of photos and videos here to CivilNet, posting them online, and indicating their involvement. Also, for those who have been watching these public rallies, you've noticed that Nicol Pashinyan and the other activists have actively sought out the cheers of people from different communities, asked them to hold up signs indicating where they are from, what community they're coming from, cheering them on, encouraging them to come in even larger numbers, to bring vehicles, trucks, to help in the blockades and road closures that they were pushing for. And so it has been a very interesting process. Now that he's brought it over to Gyumri, we can give you some information on Gyumri. It is Armenia's second largest city, certainly a name that has become synonymous with the 1988 earthquake. It is in the region of Shirag, and is among the few Armenian areas where the voters have consistently voted against the ruling regime. So again, this is an area that would be very obviously in support of this protest movement, in support of the actions, and in support of the message that the opposition and movement leaders here have been advocating for over the course of these 2 weeks. With this move out as well, it's an interesting play from the perspective, at least within the context of the political game that's happening. It's a very interesting play because while there is a lot of pressure on different members of parliament already, given the sheer numbers of people that have taken to the streets, and certainly those numbers have impacted and are the reason for Serj Sargsyan to have resigned from his position. Moving this rally into Gyumri, tomorrow's rally into Vanadzor, so that other elected officials, now again, as we mentioned in Gyumri, they have been regularly and staunchly against the ruling regime, but it does show those that are in that do have seats from some of these areas, that are in elected office because of some of these areas. If audiences come out in large numbers and really add to the protest numbers, those elected officials are going to have some interesting decisions to make as it pertains to their constituents and the voice that their constituents are giving to support of this movement, and what that ultimately means when it happens, when we come to the vote on May 1st, which is an open roll call vote in Parliament to determine the new Prime Minister, is going to be very interesting to watch. And I think that's something that people should be paying close attention to, because again, one of the talking points, as we've kept repeating it because it's been repeated back to us, is the request and want for full, fair, and clear and clean, transparent elections. And so this is going to be something that we will all be watching, and it will be interesting to see, and then certainly we will be reporting as it happens during the vote, and then again when we talk about what has taken place afterward. So again, we're coming to you from Gyumri. We are expecting Nikol Pashinyan and the other activists to arrive very shortly per the announcement on the stage. Here, CivilNet, on our YouTube feed, we will be providing live Armenian to English interpretation. We once again thank COAF for their support in providing the interpretation services. We will be back shortly once the speeches start. Let's go back to the music and what is happening here on stage. We will again be providing context and summaries as we go through this evening's speeches. And so we'll be back momentarily.
Բաց ենք անել, որտեղ նման հանրահավաքները նաև կառավարման կարիք ունեն։ Բոլոր լրագրողներին, զանգվածային լրատվամիջոցների ներկայացուցիչներին, օպերատորներին խնդրում ենք իրենց վկայականները հանել դուրս, որպեսզի մենք տեսնենք, հասկանանք, որ մարդը լրագրող է, անտեղի դուրս չհրավիրենք այս հարթակից։ Մեր կամավորները հսկելու են և հրավիրելու են դուրս այս հարթակից, բոլոր նրանց, ովքեր լրագրողներ չեն, օպերատորներ չեն։ Մյուսը, հարթակի վրա շատ մարդ կա, բոլորը հասկանում են, սպասում են, ուզում են տեսնել Նիկոլին, գալիս է, բոլորը կտեսնեք։ Խնդրում եմ, ովքեր գործ չունեն, հարթակը ազատեն։ Գործ ունենալ չունենալը դժբախտաբար ես եմ որոշում։ Եթե մոտեցա պարզվեց գործ չունի, պիտի իջեցնենք ներքև։ Բոլոր օպերատորներին, լրագրողներին խնդրում եմ, հենց Նիկոլը եկավ տեղափոխվել ներքև, այս հարթակը նախատեսված է զանգվածային լրատվամիջոցների համար։ Խնդրում եմ այս պահանջներին համատարին մնալ։ Մյուսը, մաքրությունը։ Հասկանում եմ, ախտամանները այդքան շատ չեն, բայց ճանաչենք մաքուր պահել։ Հնարավորինս մաքուր պահել ձեր կողքում բոլորը։ Սպասում ենք, երեք ես ճիշտ ասած կանխատեսել էի, որ հազիվ 8-ին տեղ հասնի, որովհետև ճանապարհին անընդհատ կանգնեցնելու են, ողջունելու են, քաղաքում է արդեն, բայց անտանելի վիճակ է լավ իմաստով։ Սպասենք, մի հատ էլ հայտարարություն կա։
Եվս մենք հայտարարություն նմանատիպ հավաքների ժամանակ մենք սկսում ենք կորցնել մեկս մյուսից։ Ամենափրկիչ եկեղեցու մուտքի դիմաց հանդիպում են բոլոր նրանք, ովքեր միմյանց կորցրել են։ Պայմանավորվեցին, բայց նմանատիպ հայտարարություններ չի։ Խնդրում եմ անչափահասներին, փոքրիկներին, ծնողներին, քույրերին և մայրերին, ում եք որ երեխաները եկել են։ Ամեն վայրկյան ձեր աչքը անչափահասների ու երեխաների վրա։ Խոսքս ուղղում եմ մեր մեծահասակներին, խնդրում եմ, պահանջում եմ։ Գիտեք ինչ եք անելու, եթե տեսնում են սանդվիչ։ Այսպես թողնում ենք մեջտեղում, հնացածները քաշվում տոփքի։ Ինքը մնում է մեջտեղում ու բոլորս արդեն գիտենք, թե կողմը մի շատ արագ երանում է։ Պայմանավորվեցին, ստիպված ենք նմանատիպ հայտարարություններ անելու, մենք ականներս կրկնում եմ, ով ում կորցնում է, ամենափրկիչ մեր հյուրերին են տեղեկացնում, չնայած կարծիքով չկա մի մարդ, որ չգիտենա, 7 եկեղեցին է և ամենափրկիչ եկեղեցու մուտքի մոտ, որը նրանք ովքեր իրար կորցրել են, այդտեղ են հանդիպում են։ Դե քանի որ մենք ենք տերը մեր երկրի, ուրեմն մենք հաղթող ժողովուրդ ենք ու հաղթանք։
We will be getting this started with the interpretation in just a moment once the speakers do start. So again, once the speakers are on stage, we will have our Armenian to English interpretation begin, and we will continue throughout the rally to provide you with the context and summaries that we have been providing over the course of these few days. So stay tuned. Please make sure to share this link for anybody else who might be interested. Let's get the word out that we are providing these services. And again, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, as we will be putting up announcements, and the conversation will be happening there as the rally is taking place. You can find us on both Facebook and Twitter at ＳիվիլΝեթի, just like we are here at YouTube at ＳիվilNeթի. And we'll be back shortly with our interpretation.
Ես տարել եմ միլիցա փաստորեն, խնդրում եմ երկու քայլ ետ գնացեք, երկու քայլ, ամենավերջից երկու քայլ, հնար չկա, ստեղ ջարդում եք արդեն, ժողովուրդ, ուշաթափություն է լինելու, հոպա, երկու քայլ ետ գնա, երկու քայլ, երկու քայլ, երկու քայլ, Դուք գլխավոր քայլը արդեն արել եք, որպեսզի թափով անեք մնացած քայլերը, գոնե երկու քայլ ետ գնացեք, բայ։ Ժողովուրդ, ոչ մի քայլ ետ չտաք։ Բացատրեմ, առանց ես երկաթների մոտ բազմաթիվ երեխեք կան, 10-12 տարեկան։ Եթե մի քիչ տեղ չեք տալիս, կվնասվեն երեխեքը, խնդրում եմ, երկու քայլ, ետ գնացեք տեղ տվեք։
Ժողովուրդ ջան, եկեք դեմքով շրջվենք, ու մեր Սազում Միքայելյանի ասացի պես հետ չենք գնում, ուղղակի նորից առաջ ենք գնում, պայմանավորվեցին։ Այնպես դեմքով շրջվում ենք, երկու քայլ առաջ, կանգնում ենք ու հետո դեմքով շրջվում, պայմանավորվեցին։
As we are still waiting, do want to provide some context of what is happening here from the stage. Our speaker just speaking to the audience, getting them excited and ready for the speakers. He did ask the people that are there to take 2 steps back in order to offer space to each other and make the crowd more manageable. And then, interestingly and funnily enough, the crowd does begin to chant 2 steps. Something that I'm sure those who've been following these live feeds of the public rallies have noticed. The crowds are very big, they're very packed. It is very densely packed in these crowds with not a lot of space between people. Air certainly becomes heavy in those crowds, as we've had firsthand experience coming to you live from the rallies. And so one of the important things, again, because you do hear from the stage that there's calls for help, for some medical attention if somebody's a little weak. And so, again, the speakers are here trying to make the crowd manageable and also give them the space so that those types of issues are not something that this crowd has to deal with. So again, coming to you live here from Gyumri, not Yerevan in Republic Square as it has been. The crowd in Gyumri certainly is excited. The current host and MC from the stage has been working to keep the crowd entertained, energetic. They've been playing the familiar theme song for this movement that you heard Haig, the artist from Ukraine, actually performed live 2 nights ago in Republic Square in Yerevan. Then again, the familiar refrain and chants of Kailara Meji Serjin, take a step and reject Serge. Again, things that we've been hearing constantly and consistently for 2 weeks here in Yerevan and across Armenia over the course of this movement. As soon as our speakers are here and on stage, we will be bringing you the live Armenian to English interpretation. We thank you for sticking with us here on ＳիվիլՆեթի on YouTube. Again, you can follow along on the conversation that we'll be having and the highlights that we'll be posting on Twitter at ＳիվիլՆեթ as well as on Facebook at ＳիվիլՆeթ. You are seeing a shot here of Nigol Pashinyan on stage. Next to him is actress Arsine Khanjan, who we heard call in live at one of the earlier public rallies. I want to say it was the second night of the public rallies in Republic Square in Yerevan. Arsine Khanjan, who has been a part of a previous protest movement here in Armenia with Electric Yerevan. ＳivilNet at that time had documented footage of her being arrested in that movement. She's been active in voicing her opposition or in voicing the support of the opposition movement that is taking place here with the Reject Serge movement. To give you, well, let's see if we are starting here. Okay. Once again, our speaker from the stage asking, in terms of managing the crowd, asking them to take a couple steps back and to calm down and get ready for the speakers coming up. So just after this bit of house cleaning that we're hearing from the stage now, as they're asking the audience to take a steps back. So again, once after this house cleaning bit is done, we will be able to come to you here live from Gyumri for the rally. do just quickly want to go over a little bit about Gyumri here before we start. That it was one of the largest cities of Russian-ruled Eastern Armenia with a population similar to that of Yerevan. It was renamed to Leninagan during the Soviet period. And at that time, the city's population grew above 200,000 people, and this was prior to the 1988 Spidak earthquake, when at that time it was devastated. As of the 2011 census, the city had a population of just under 122,000. I'm sorry, just under 122,000, and which was down though from the 2001 census of almost 151,000. It's a city known as a city of art and artists, a city where humor is particularly sharp. It's something you know about Gyumretsis. And it was part of the Justice for Armenia group. Again, sorry, that was to clarify that Arsena was here as part of the Justice for Armenia group, not Electric Yerevan. Sorry, so again, Gyumri is where we are. It does look like they're going to start here. They're introducing Arsena Khanjan, who I believe will be one of our speakers tonight, but we will see where that goes. And so we will be back and joining you just after Levon Barselian now coming to the stage, and so we will go with our live interpretation.
My dear friends from Gyumri, from the region of Shirak, citizens of the Republic of Armenia, my dearest diaspora Armenians, the revolution comes to its victorious end. We've done a lot, really a lot, all together, but there is still things to do. So do not step back. We're not tired yet. We're going ahead, struggling for our values and freedom. We are full of belief that we're going to have our free and independent Armenia. Dear friends, today we are going to have a number of speeches today, and of course Nikol Pashinyan is going to speak. And I was looking at the watch through the whole way of ours. We were stopped by the farmers on the way, greeting us all the time in Tallinn. They wanted to slaughter a lamb right before the feet of Nikol. Nikol said, I grant amnesty to this lamb. Let it go back to the field. And the same was in Azatan. And by the way, we are going to go to Vanadzor through Sevan tomorrow and then come back to Yerevan by Aparan. Okay, let's go ahead now. So, I'll give the floor now to a member of Civil Contract Party, Georg Naretyan. Proud people of the Republic of Armenia. We are now standing at the cross-section where we have to make a very important decision. Finally, we overcame the environment of fear and disappointment. We raised our hand and we moved ahead. We now own the authority and the power in the Republic of Armenia. For years now, certain criminal oligarchic groups had stolen the power from us, but the Armenian people finally understood that this criminal oligarchic system can be stopped. Moreover, it is possible to behead it and to remove from the country completely. Some figures today, some people led by Karen Karapetyan, want to steal the victory from the people and maintain their criminal power in Armenia. The region of Shirak and Gyumri especially have always been unique with the spirit of struggle that they have, but recently they managed to inject some of disappointment into the people of Gyumri as well, regularly rigging, falsifying the elections, intimidating. and by bribing people who had certain social problems. Now, it is the time to get rid of this cancer and to bring back our life of dignity. And Shirak region is the first in the Republic of Armenia by a number of indicators, but unfortunately these are negative indicators. Shirak region is the poorest in the Republic of Armenia, with 45% of the population poor, which means that every second citizen, almost every second citizen standing right here in the square who lives in the region of Shirak has an issue of poverty. There are very many unemployed. There is not a single family in Shirak region that doesn't have one person who is in outreach, who is in who is abroad, who's not abroad finding work. The Republican Party has been cheating you, deceiving you for years. There will not be people without homes in Gyumri and in the region of Shirak. There will be a life of dignity. These are the promises that they used to give at the time, but they deceived you. And now most of them who were promising you are among you today. Leave this square, gentlemen. You are done. People are sick of you. It is the time now for you, the people, to take the authority in your hands. Our dearest Parush Sevak would say that there are people who bear the world and there are people who are born by the world. So, my dearest Republicans, it is enough, Mr. Karapetyan, it is enough. These people that bears the whole world on its shoulders, it is really sick of your service. It's tired of your service. Thank you. It's the time for you to buy the tickets and leave Armenia. But we won't flee. We are the owners of this country. Thank you. And so let me give the floor now to the member of Civil Initiative Reject Serge, a political prisoner many times, David Sanasaryan. Good evening, the victorious Shirak. Good evening, people of dignity. How are you? You have to be good. My dears, this triumphant march of ours, and from the first day of this triumphant march, we used to say that there is no hatred. There is only love. Love towards our people. Love has won. Love towards our country. Love of people. And that love is now drop by drop, step by step, become a wave that has washed away the hatred and very small remnants of hatred that remain in our country. My friends, these days, this criminal regime, while understanding on one side that there is no option, and understanding on the other side that the people are united with love, they still try to disseminate some false information as if we have any phobias before other nations, as if we are anti-Russian, or as if we are afraid of Russians. we are not afraid, but we love. We're friends with other nations as well, and we love our friends. They now want to tell us that there is another country standing behind them. Believe me, there's nothing true about that. It's only the Armenian nation standing behind. No other country may intervene in the domestic issues of Armenia, because we are a sovereign country. We are the owners. My dears, let me assure you that those citizens of the Republic of Armenia who are the subservients, agents of other countries, are the betrayers, the meanest betrayers. They should never strive to find anything in the Republic of Armenia. And that is why there is a need, so that after the authorities change, we will have to identify all the agents of other countries and send them back to their homes. Without any further ado, dear friends, I love you all.
So you've been listening to the public rally in Gyumri. Levon Barseghian, currently on your screen, Gyumri City Council member, is the MC here for the evening and host. You heard Gevorg Loretzian speaking just earlier. Gevorg is a member of the Civil Contracts Party. And then you just heard activist David Sanasadian, who we've heard, again, as one of the regular speakers and prominent members of this opposition movement here. Levon Barseghian again on stage asking people to provide space to each other out in the crowd. Again, the level of excitement these crowds have, certainly that is a difficult proposition. We want to again thank COAF for the interpretation services that you have been hearing. We also again want to say that this is taking place here in Gyumri, and one of the David Sanasadian points is something that has been very important to the youth, which again is the idea of jobs in the economy, and how people do want to stay here in Armenia and not emigrate out, but the prospects of jobs being difficult, the economy being not where the youth certainly are looking forward to be, has been an important point that has taken place, that has been mentioned and discussed throughout the course of this movement. So again, that is something that the youth are certainly looking to hear. And again, in Gyumri, which is a town that is certainly, as we mentioned with the census, looking to gain in size and strengthen its economy as well. So at this time, let's go back to the stage and the interpretation services from the public rally in Gyumri.
Good evening, my dear people. There is one very important thing. There is no bigger love than if you sacrifice yourself for it. This is really food for thought. And we have to think now. When is that moment coming that when you're ready to sacrifice yourself, to act selflessly, not only for your family, but for your country and for your people? And you know who said that? Who?
Chance of Nigel coming from the crowd.
And all those who followed Nicole would not doubt for a second to sacrifice themselves for the well-being of the people, of the nation, of the motherland, and the belief. And this is the people winning that has identified that ability in itself. Second, very important. And second, very important point that the Bible tells us is that the belief is based on justice and lawfulness. So justice and lawfulness. And we all are here to once again prove that justice will come in our country and the rule of law. So let us first of all welcome and greet all of us to be here. And finally, given this stage, these days in Gyumri had its own agenda. And during that agenda, you, the people of Gyumri, the people of the region of Shirak, people that arrived in Gyumri from different regions, from different villages, understanding the need for this stage, I would like to, on behalf of all of us, once again mention the main requirement, the demand. This is not a right, but an obligation. And this is the obligation that we have to take, and we have already taken, but we can pronounce it once again. That obligation is Nikol Prime Minister. Thank you. Once again, greetings, really. Salute. Well, as far as I got from this, that the gathering today is essentially a verdict for Nikol, obligating him to become a prime minister. You have to do that now. Let me now give the floor to a pedagogist from John Kyrgyzstan School, Sofia Hovsepian. Salute, Armenian people. Salute the people of Shirak. This is the happiest day, one of the happiest days in my life. The reasons are clear, and there are many. First of all, for the last 20 years, this is the first time that the region of Shirak, all together, as a fist, are standing here for one political issue to be solved. We have to change illegality in this country. And this is the first time that people from the villages and from the cities have removed all the borders and have become just one. This is the first time that there are people here standing here on their own will. They have not been asked, they have not been brought by buses here, intimidated, scared. They have come here on their own initiative. This is the first time that a teacher stands on this stage in the region of Shirak fighting for her rights. This is the first time that the students are not afraid to go out in the streets and become proactive in organization of the actions. I'm very grateful to you, all of you, because finally we come to our national ideology. I appeal now to all the teachers, all the pedagogists. This is a request to you. We are the ones who are going to bring up the future generation. We, the pedagogues. And if we do not protect the rights of our children, we don't have the right to expect any justice in this country. either towards ourselves and respectively. All those who haven't hit the streets yet, do that and stand next to your colleagues so that you together are able to struggle for the justice in this country. My dears, very little is left indeed. Just one step, just one hit, and we will reach the important situation that we've dreamt of to have here in Armenia: the justice, the independence, the rule of law, the unity. These are the ones we will reach, because it is this unity that is the biggest strength for our army, the biggest strength for our country, for further improvement, fortification of our statehood. I'm asking you, the people of Shirak, myself being a resident of this region, this is a mere request of mine. Please stand for your rights as the core of the nation of the Republic of Armenia, in order to turn this country into a completely fair, transparent country. Because you are the ones to do that, and you have proven that you are. This is a historical event, as this was something seeming impossible, but indeed only people can, and they have. They have already changed, and this is an irreversible fact. Thank you. There's only one thing we have to ask for. We have to demand Serge to take his companions with him. He is forgotten. He is forgotten. Let him take his companions and leave the country. And hence, we are all going to continue the same inspiration, same spirit, and there's only one step, maybe a leap left, as Mr. Barseghan mentioned, and we will reach the real victory. Thank you.
You have been listening to Sona Hovhannisyan, previously, or who's a teacher from Shirak, as she said, but also who's taught translation at Brusov University. She had a very interesting statement earlier in the week that I did want to mention, as it is a very interesting sort of look at where we are right now with this movement, and compared to the Qarabakh or the independence movement from 1988. The line that Sona Hovhannisyan had was, "It was the generation of independence that has brought freedom." A very interesting line, highlighting the youth movement that has taken place, something that I think truly, from what you see here on camera, it does capture the essence of the movement, where it is led by the youth, and it is something that is interesting to watch, how 30 years later a new generation has come into Armenia and really sort of taken the baton from that Qarabakh independence movement to bring Armenia to where it is now in this process. So again, you are listening to Levon Barseghan on stage of Gyumri City Council, a very well-liked figure here in this movement. He was arrested earlier in the week, then released, but at that time when Nikol Pashinyan, Ararat Mirzoyan, and others were arrested, so was Levon Barseghan, who again is speaking from the stage in his hometown where he is a city council member. One of the other things that Sona Hovhannisyan mentioned is that this is the first time that a teacher has spoken from this stage, standing to struggle for justice in this country. She follows up, little is left, she said, just one step, as you heard again from our interpretation services. Again, they have a different set of speakers here than we might normally be used to, although we have seen some familiar names. We now go back to the stage with our interpretation services.
Welcome Gyumri and welcome Armenia. My greetings to all of you. I'd like to start from a question that my 5-year-old daughter asked me today in the morning by participating in the march together with me for the last 2-3 days. My daughter just approached and asked me the following. Dad, she said, what has Nicole done that we all love him? And the answer was that he's made a step. And that is why we love him. And we've joined him in that step. Well, I don't remember ever such a crowd in between these two churches, at least for the last 30 years. So I would like to once again greet our own selves. Salut, Gyumri. Well, Nicole announced this is a velvet revolution, but I think this is a revolution of love and belief. We all, right from the first day, believed in him. We believed that it was possible to change this country, to make changes, to create bright future for our children. I think that we've succeeded. And so, viva Armenians. We've come now to the last stage of the revolution. And I think there is really very little left for us to do. Very few steps that we have to make in order to finally create a strong, independent, free Armenia, Armenia of our dreams. So, as we've been hearing in the recent days, something really precious to our hearts is that we really want to create free, independent Armenia. Thank you. Always yours, քաղաքականության. Dear friends, these days, hundreds, if not to say thousands, of diaspora Armenian friends of ours, not able to stay abroad anymore, bought tickets and came to Armenia in order to participate in this people's movement and not to miss the victorious spirit. So let me now give this microphone to our beloved, very extremely beloved Arsine Khanjan.
Okay, let's finish.
Thank you indeed. My dear compatriots, dear citizens of Armenia, dear people of Gyumri, I think I'm speechless now, or no words are enough to express the feelings that I have today. And not only the feelings that I have today, but I've had for the last 10 days through all the activity that I have seen and all the success recorded in results. I'm here today just in order to fill myself the work that you have done, the efforts that you have brought for this proud, triumphant process for the Republic of Armenia. Congratulations. Great job. You have tried to persuade us already that the diaspora has to participate in this transformation, in the life of Armenia and in such critical periods. Well, we always knew that we had to participate, but we didn't know what were the best ways of that participation. However, one of the best ones, the most correct ones, is that we have to stand by your side and not bring the change ourselves, but follow the change that you have created as you have won and you have already brought that change, and the whole sense of independence is going to be put here, reinstated in Armenia once and for all. I'm now very grateful, of course, not only on my behalf, but first of all on behalf of a number of Armenian citizens who are abroad, not necessarily in certain organizations or parties or those of church, but just common people who are spread around the world right now. I can speak on their behalf, I hope, and I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of those in France, in the United States, in Northern or Southern Americas. They're all with you, standing by your side for the victory. I would also like to cordially extend my gratitude on behalf of Serge Tankian, Atom Egoyan, Mahe Berberian, Eric Nazarian, who were with me last year to witness all those falsifications that the ruling party allowed. It was really crime. This was a criminal authority, and you have overcome it already because you managed to overcome your fears. When there are fears, that is the biggest limitation to yourself, and you've made yourself free from that. So Nikol Pashinyan just showed you the vector, but you, with your own will and abilities, stood up for your rights, following his words and bringing this victory. I'd like to congratulate Nikol Pashinyan because he managed to take that fear out of all the people by just cordial, kind words, without any violent action, and he managed to unite all the Armenians around the world and those in Armenia. Thank you once again, Nikol Pashinyan.
Arsene Khanjian on stage.
And also believe me that diaspora loves you. That diaspora has been following the whole process from the very beginning, but diaspora also has the fear, and you have to encourage the diaspora Armenians not to be afraid anymore. We can have an independent country, a healthy, a strong country, without impact of foreign powers. There are foreign power impact in every country, but it's the spirit of independence in our hearts, in our will, in our belief, and today we are free and independent Armenia. Viva! Thank you.
Arsene Khanjian just was on stage here in Gyumri at the public rally taking place for the Yerevan protests, the demonstrations that have been going on now for 2 weeks. Levon Parselian coming back to the stage in a moment. Again, it's we're coming to you. Coming to you here again live from Gyumri. Seta Grigorian on stage right now. We again are coming to you from Gyumri, Armenia's second largest city, for this public rally. She does seem to be reading off of her phone. We'll see if this is her words or if these are words being provided to her as she's speaking on behalf of somebody in just a moment. But let's now go back to the stage.
We support the people's movement of Nikol Pashinyan, we believe that the Velvet Revolution of love and solidarity will result in rule of law, in fair change, transformation, including in the culture sector, and we, the independent cinematographers, are next to the movement of the people, and we support democracy. So join our statement. I'm now applying to all the artists. Thank you.
Seda Grigorian, who was just on stage, those were her words. That was not on behalf of anybody. Those were her words that she was speaking. They are the filmmakers. It's a group of filmmakers that want to provide a statement here in support of this movement. And so Seda Grigorian, again, was the speaker that we just heard from here in Gyumri, speaking on behalf of filmmakers. Again, Gyumri is known as a city of the arts, and so the match there comes in that space. We now have an individual on stage performing here, and so we'll take this time to speak a little bit about what has been taking place, where we are, and where we're sort of going from here. We are in Gyumri. Tomorrow's public rally will be in Vanadzor. The rallies will then continue in Yerevan starting on Sunday, April 29th, continuing Monday, April 30th, and then as well on May 1st, as May 1st will be the day that the National Assembly votes on the nominated candidates for Prime Minister. Those names will be provided on April 30th, which will be Monday, which is 7 days from the date of resignation of Serge Sarkisyan from the role of Prime Minister. Again, according to the Constitution, the nominations must be made within those 7 days. And so that is what we will be seeing then. As you've been noticing on the live screen, the individuals and the groups in Gyumri are very excited for this moment. You've seen young men sort of hopping over and going up to Nikol Pashinyan and taking selfies with him in the middle of other speakers speaking. We've heard from Seda Grigorian words on behalf of a group of filmmakers, Arsene Khanjan. And now let's go back to the stage. We have Haig Marutian, actor, taking the stage for a few words for the audience in Gyumri.
Good evening, my precious people. Today, and from now on, there is no Yerevan, Gyumri, Vanadzor, or etc. There is only one Armenia. And today, the triumphant Armenian people are in Gyumri. I remember the New Year party. We heard that one of our friends was from Gyumri. And then I also learned that one of my ancestors was from Gyumri. This is not a joke, really. It turned out that my grandma is from Gyumri. Moreover, 5 days ago, I received a call, an unknown number. One person saying, good day, Haik, is that you? I said, yes. And he said, do you know that you have a house in Gyumri? I said, no, I don't. Then why are you calling me? He said, well, we want your house. Would you please sell it? So now I'm answering his question. No, it's not for sale. I'm not going to sell my house in Gyumri. My dear friends, Let us go serious a little. On the 23rd of April, the whole Armenian people that lives not only in Armenia, but also abroad, I mean the Armenians and the diaspora, won an unprecedented, incredible victory. And hence, in order to have this victory complete, we have to make one more step. We have to organize free, fair, and transparent elections. And for that, we need to have a leader, head of state, the people's candidate that we have to nominate. Who do you think it is? And indeed. The candidate of the Armenian people is Nikol Pashinyan. We will trust him to take Armenia to the free and fair elections. And that is why we have to stay as powerful as we are now. Tomorrow and the day after, we have to keep like this till the 1st of May. And then, when we organize the independent, free, fair elections, at that time only, we will have free, fair, independent Armenia. So free and independent Armenia. And once again, I'd like to remind that this movement is the most peaceful movement in the world. Let us now raise our hands in the air. Thank you. I love you.
We now have Levon Barsovyan, Gyumri City Council member, back on the stage addressing the audience, recapping where this all started and how we got here. Again, let's also provide a little bit of that recap. Nikol Pashinyan started this protest movement against the confirmation or the nomination and subsequent confirmation of Serj Sargsyan to the post of Prime Minister. He started his protest from Gyumri, made it over to Yerevan, and then it has been 2 weeks since the start of the protests in Yerevan. And we have seen in that time, within the first week, or within just after the first week, after the first weekend, Serj Sargsyan resigned his post as Prime Minister. We have seen crowds, well over 100,000, gather in Yerevan, in Republic Square, marching and demonstrating against Prime Minister Sargsyan, and then continuing that movement as Pashinyan and the opposition members have called for the Republican Party in Parliament to also step down, as Pashinyan says that they have a mandate from the people to be able to start anew and to start again without the Republican Party in the majority, even though they have the seats in Parliament. The people's mandate, Pashinyan says, gives them the authority to move forward with negotiations. So that is where we are. We have reached here. And once again, we have Sasun Mikhaelian taking the stage. And let's go back to Gyumri.
Dear friends, good evening. Good evening, dear Gyumretzis. I have many friends in Gyumri, kins and relatives, companions. Mikhail Markaryan, for example. But it's really, I'm really glad that I haven't seen so many people of Gyumri standing in the square anytime. I'm really glad that this is happening now.
Sasun Mikhaelian here on stage, coming to you from Gyumri. Again, we are having some trouble with the feed, unfortunately, as it's coming in just with the sound. However, Sasun Mikhaelian, a member of parliament, he is a Qarabakh War veteran. He has been a fan favorite, so to speak. He's been a favorite of the audiences during these public rallies for what he represents, both in terms of his service, member of parliament, as well as the role he played as a veteran in the Qarabakh conflict. Sasun has been a regular speaker during these events, drawing large cheers and excitement. He's mentioned here that we are living these special moments in our own country, defending our country's borders, again, highlighting the work and the civic service, as well as just the public service that the people of Armenia have done, and highlighting the work that has been done in this movement. We've had a number of speakers here on stage today, very much similar to who we have been seeing. It has been a very excitable and energetic crowd. As we mentioned before, we've seen a lot of young individuals coming up to Nikol Pashinyan as he's been waiting on the side of the stage, taking selfies with him in the middle of other people speaking. Again, you can see by the fact that some folks are wearing the hats and putting their hoodies on, that it is raining in Gyumri. It's raining here in Yerevan as well, raining in Gyumri. The weather is certainly not agreeing to what necessarily everybody wants, but that hasn't dampened the excitement of the people that are there at this rally. You see Levon Barselian just behind Sasun on stage. We will be having more speakers come as we go on. Again, we're coming to you live from Gyumri. Gyumri, the second largest city in Armenia. It was one of the largest cities of Russian-ruled Armenia at the time. Population at the time similar to Armenia, and then it was renamed Leninagan, and then the earthquake happened in 1988, where the population had just grown above 200,000 right before that earthquake, and then it was devastated, and then from there has been a drop in the population. According to the census, in the 2011 census, the city had a population of just under 122,000, and then that had been down from the 2001 census, where it was at about 151,000. So again, Gyumri, a very artistically known and artistically inclined city with a lot of history. We now have Levon Barselian, who is a Gyumri City Council member, on stage after Sasun Mikhailian has just finished speaking. And so we will now go back to the stage for Levon Barselian and our next speakers.
No one would believe that it was possible to remove the dragon, to defeat the dragon by just a march. We didn't have doubts, and we don't have doubts that this victory will be complete. Victory. There is one more thing I have to say, and then I'll give the microphone to Nikol Pashinyan. You can see yourself, and you have definitely met people, officials, former officials, politicians, representatives of different political powers, all of them announcing that they're joining the revolution. Very often, sometimes even, people may be angry about that, but please be very patient, tolerant, as during the revolutions, always such things happen. People either change their behavior, understand that they were wrong, they had taken wrong ways, and finally they understand and realize the truth, and then they join. It happens. So, while joining the revolution, the success, they once again augment our victory. It is with the consistent steps of ours that we have won. So let me now give the floor to Nikol Pashinyan. My dear friends, the proud citizens of Armenia, it is quite clear, well understood, properly justified to say that the Armenian people, the citizen of Armenia, has won and that victory is unconditional. However, while recognizing that on one side, on the other, I have to say that the citizens of Armenia, the Armenian people, will never again be defeated. We will never lose, and this victory will be permanent. There is no doubt that this powerful, inspired people will also win in Karabakh war. There is no doubt that this powerful people will win, will defeat corruption. There is no doubt that these people will defeat poverty. There is no doubt that this people is powerful and will still have significant victories in the sectors of economy and other sectors. There is no doubt that these powerful people will stop the emigration and will start a big march from all the corners of the world towards this precious, towards this marvelous, happy motherland. Today, I can see many people attempting to simplify the agenda, to present the agenda of ours in a very simple way. Many people may think that the whole movement is about the post of the Prime Minister. Those who think that way do not understand everything that is happening in the Republic of Armenia now. And today, the citizens of Armenia have already stood up firmly on their feet, with their arms and fists and thoughts united. We are now confidently looking ahead into the future. Today, the citizens of Armenia have won. And that victory is irreversible, is guaranteed. And in order to prove that it is, there is only one way we can go, and that way is promoting the people's candidate for the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia. If I know any other way, a way that will not break this victory of the citizens of Armenia, or the feeling of victory, then I will immediately refrain from this statement. But the political responsibility, the attitude towards the situation in the country at this moment tells me that I have to recognize that there is no other way. People will win, and that de facto victory has to be recognized de jure on the 1st of May.
De facto,
so de facto victory has to be recognized de jure as well on the 1st of May at the National Assembly. The elections for the Prime Minister are going to take place in the National Assembly. I hear many questions. Many say, what can we do to come out of this crisis? Or what can they offer as their help in coming out from the crisis? I tell them there is one very simple thing you can do. You have to explain to Karen Karapetyan that he cannot be the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, because the country in which a Republican Party member could be a president or a prime minister, that country does not exist anymore. This is a different Armenia now. This is a victorious Armenia. This is Armenia in which love has won. This is Armenia in which unity has won. And I hope there is someone who would tell Karen Karapetyan, who would show to Karen Karapetyan or the other Republicans what was happening on the road from Yerevan to Gyumri, when we were traveling, when we're coming to Gyumri in 4 hours. So, the attempt of Karen Karapetyan to be nominated as a candidate for the Prime Minister post in the Republic of Armenia will mean that he would pronounce himself the enemy of this heroic people, standing in this rain for so many hours. He would pronounce himself an enemy if he attempts to nominate himself for the Prime Minister's post. You decide, Karen. You decide. Do you want to have such a strong, victorious, and experienced enemy? If you want, then the same fate, the same destiny expects you. As the one of Sir Sarkisian. There are still people, I know, who would say it is the time to start acting. We cannot lose time. Let me say that we have done all those actions necessary. This whole story is not over. It's over in the sense that we don't need any violent steps. Samvel Karapetyan and Karen Karapetyan just need to prolong the process. 3 more minutes, 4 more minutes, 5 more minutes you may need. You may prolong this for maybe some more minutes, but irreversibly you will lose, unavoidably, very soon. And now, they are trying another trick by attempting to say that this stage, that this movement led by the Velvet Revolution, Revolution of Love, they want to say now that after coming to power, the political, geopolitical, economic wars will start against Russia. So now, let me tell you one very simple thing. I don't even want to say that we are not enemies of Russia. It is clear we are not the enemies of Russia. But moreover, we are not the enemies of our own country. We can't be adventurous, not reasonable. We have said, and we say, that after we come to power, we're not going to have any geopolitical shocks. We have said, and we have to say again, we never said, and we don't say, that Armenia has to leave the Collective Security Treaty Organization. We guarantee that Armenia will remain a member of the Collective Security Treaty, not because we like it or we don't, but because that membership emanates from the national interests of the Republic of Armenia. However, we will also do everything so that that organization becomes more efficient and much more seriously treats and provides much more serious guarantees for the security of the Republic of Armenia and the Republic of Artsakh, more than it has been providing up to date. We do not consider these issues as to be solved in a connotation of conflict. These are issues that have to be solved in a patient, peaceful, collaborative way. And I want this to be recognized very clearly. We right now state that Armenia will remain loyal to all the international treaties agreements signed, including the one signed with the European Union, as well as the one signed with the Eurasian Economic Union. This does not mean that we think that the cooperation in both directions, I mean with the European Union or with the Eurasian Economic Union, are perfect. Not at all. The cooperation is not perfect, and respectively we have to strive to perfect them, to make them flawless. And I'm sure that with such a strong assistance of the whole Armenian people, we will guarantee unavoidably the full implementation of these agreements. And now, I want everyone to very clearly recognize and understand the following: that this political situation has only one solution. All the factions of the National Assembly, including the Republican Party and Zarukyan Alliance and the ARF and YELK, will have to vote together to elect and first of all nominate the candidate to the Prime Minister post, the people's candidate. So, on the 1st of May, the National Assembly will elect him the Prime Minister of Armenia. Despite all the different topics that we discuss, this way is the only way to come out from this situation. All the other solutions will even further deepen the crisis, aggravate the situation, and respectively. If there are several hundreds of thousands of citizens involved in civil disobedience actions and campaigns, then after such a decision, there will be millions. On the way to Gyumri, in the rain, I saw infants, school children, adolescents. I saw youth, adults, middle age, older age, women, men, who were there not for my, but for their rights. The authorities, Sir Sarkisian, from the first day, made this mistake, because Sir Sarkisian thought He thought no one would go to the square for Nicole. 1 second. But he did not understand that maybe some people would come for Nicole or some would not. People come to the square for their rights, for their freedom, for their dignity, for independence. So I can say that it's not me that will be a prime minister, but each of you will be the prime minister. Because my appointment will mean that each of you, every citizen of the Republic of Armenia, will become the prime minister of Armenia. Otherwise, all of this has no sense. The only goal of my life and my career is the victory of the citizen of the Republic of Armenia. And I am obliged. I have committed myself to not even... I will sacrifice my life for the victory of the Armenian citizens. So, if someone thinks that there is something that can stop me or us, it means that person does not understand, does not know who Armenians are, does not know who Armenian citizens are. The citizens of Armenia have won. And so, the sooner Karen Karapetyan recognizes that fact, the better for Armenia and for its people, and for the Republic of Artsakh. There is one thing that I promise. Even if Karen Karapetyan and the Republican faction do not recognize this fact, then with the love and solidarity of ours, with the tools of our revolution, we will definitely recognize them to that fact. We'll have them recognized. And now, our next steps. You know that today and tomorrow, for today and for tomorrow, we have stopped the civil disobedience actions throughout the whole country, and we have done that for two reasons. First, to have the participants of our movement rest for 1 or 2 days, because they have earned that rest. Second, if the roads were closed, we couldn't have reached Gyumri. And so, the main event is taking place in Gyumri today. Tomorrow it will take place in Vanadzor. And so these days, these 2 days, no civil disobedience actions will take place. On the 29th of April, from the 29th of April, all the actions will restart with double force and volume. And on the 1st of May, in the morning at 8 a.m. sharp, all of us will flood Yerevan. The streets of Yerevan will be flooded by us. Victory. Dear friends, this is a historical rally because at least we heard from the residents of Gyumri that after the liberation movement for Artsakh, after the independence of Armenia, this is apparently one of the strongest gatherings, the largest and the biggest, if not the most powerful rally taking place. I think that this historical day is worth remembrance. We may now bring another very important step that we can do by marching in the streets of Gyumri. Especially given that my march, I started my march from that square right there, that monument right there. Exactly 28 days ago from that monument, when I thought that by starting from this place we would become successful, because the love, the belief, the dignity of the people of Gyumri will guide us through the way. So now, finally, before we start the rally in the streets of Gyumri, I'd like now to pay tribute to all those mothers, sisters of ours, brothers of ours, sons and daughters who are standing now in the rain. We're standing along the whole road from Yerevan to Gyumri, waiting for us, to tell us that they have won, to tell us that they would have free and happy Armenia. I want to pay tribute now to all of you. I would also like to pay tribute to the hundreds of thousands of Armenian citizens, express my admiration for keeping the Republic Square in Yerevan full all these days. I want now to express my admiration before all those people who have endangered their lives but still been part of the strongest actions of civil disobedience in Armenia. I want now to pay tribute to all those who through all this time have fed us, have shared food with us, have shared water with us, have helped us with 1 penny or $100 or 100,000 Armenian drams. I want now to pay tribute to all of us, because we have overcome disappointment. We have managed to create this unity. We've proven that the Armenian people is unbreakable. We have proven that we have our place on this planet. We will be here forever. We will exist in a strong and victorious nation. And hence, viva independence, viva freedom, Republic of Armenia, our children. Salute to all those who already live in free and happy Armenia.
You just heard the words from Nikol Pashinyan. Levon Barselian is now on stage with some house cleaning. Let's go back to Levon now on stage.
By the way, it's not only those of Gyumri, but people from the region of Armavir have joined us. People of Shirak region have joined us. Well, of course, neighboring communities have joined us as well. So, viva Armenia. There are people from Jajur community. Even. And so, dear friends, I've noticed one thing. You know how many different dialects we have here in Armenia, in different regions, different parts of the country. We have many dialects. And I noticed that some of the Skanix of ours, for example, Free and Independent Armenia, etc., all of what we say here are said in slightly different manner. No, not slightly, but they're all the same. They sound all the same. This is another symbol that this is a movement of unity and cohesion and respectively free and independent Armenia. There are people from Akhalkalaki, Akhalsikhe regions of Georgia. There are people from Gegarkunik region of Armenia. So please let me know this magnanimous rally of ours to be pronounced victorious, triumphant. But almost. Why almost? Because we will now start our march. Attention. I'm telling you the route now. Gai Street, right from that corner, towards Shiragatsi, and then Rustaveli Street, then we move to Sayat Nova Street, Bagratunyats Grove, Boshi district, and then we come back to Vartanan Square. So, as regards the discipline, attention please, to have our roads opened, no one moves, please, yet, before we announce the start We need this narrow corridor right here so that we can move ahead of the march. Please calm down. You will have the chance to speak to Nicole. Just wait. Be patient, please. Be patient. Calm down, please. Please be patient. Open this narrow corridor now so that we can move in the head of the march. I'm asking now the road police vehicle to open the road from the square to the street so that we can start moving.
You've just heard Nikol Pashinyan finish his speech in the public rally here in Gyumri. Levon Barselian working to take care of a little bit of house cleaning business and guide the audience that is there in the march that they're going to take now after the rally through Gyumri. As you can see in this video, the audience is very excited to have Nikol Pashinyan there in person. Again, we've mentioned this a couple times where young men have come up and taken selfies with Nikol as others were speaking. Again, just after he was done, a young gentleman came up for a selfie with Nikol. The audience now wants to get as close and walk as close to Nikol as possible. This is something, again, that with Nikol's live streams and in his social media, you can see people are very much excited and energetic when he is there and enjoy engaging with him. You've heard a couple familiar refrains today, and really today where this started was the meeting that did not happen with acting Prime Minister Garen Garabedian at the Marriott. Nikol Pashinyan from the stage yesterday in Yerevan announced that he invited acting Prime Minister Garabedian to a meeting at the Marriott in Yerevan in Republic Square at 12 o'clock. Nikol Pashinyan was at the meeting. Acting Prime Minister Garen Garabedian was not there. However, through his spokesperson, there was a statement made as to the thoughts of the Prime Minister's office to that meeting. And I'll read that to you now, or I'll read part of that to you now. He said, Nikol Pashinyan's invitation today is no different than his previous invitation, except in that this time he is not dictating whom he must meet with. Garen Garabedian's answer is the same as before. Negotiations in which one side is making all of the demands and in which the other cannot submit any points to the agenda cannot be considered negotiations. Again, those are the words of Aram Araradyan, the spokesperson for the Prime Minister. And those came today about 45 minutes before their meeting. Now, something to, I think we want to explain to the audience is that the reason the negotiations aren't working is because the two sides are working from two different premises. The protesters are saying, we have numbers in the streets, these are our demands, and you need to recognize and accept this. On the other hand, the government is saying the first of your demands was met, and that was Serge Sarkisian resigning from his post. From there, they say, your other demands are processes that need to be agreed upon, and to do that, we in the government, again, they need to be agreed upon within the Constitution, within the parliamentary system. What that infers then is that they in the government, the Republican Party, have the numbers, a total majority, and that you, the opposition, must recognize and accept this. So ultimately, the two sides are coming at these negotiations from two entirely different sides, two different realities, really. And so that is where we are within the process now, is that the Republican Party believes that it has provided the information or taken the steps necessary to answer to the public's mandate. And the opposition is saying, no, you removed a figurehead, but you did not fix the problem of the institutions. And that is where the two sides really are coming from, leading to some of the difficulty that we are seeing, leading to the opposing statements that are coming from each side. Again, Nikol Pashinyan from the stage, as well as others today, indicating very similarly as to what some of the difficulties in these processes are and where we currently stand in the process here in Armenia. We did, again, this public rally comes to you from Gyumri, Armenia's second largest city, Tomorrow, this public rally is going to go to Vanadzor, the third largest city in Armenia. From there, that will take place at 3 o'clock local time. Local time here is GMT +4, so please set your clocks accordingly in order to be able to follow along here with CivilNet on YouTube at youtube.com/CivilNetTV. We will be again providing simultaneous English and Armenian to English interpretation. We thank COAF again for today's services. We will be bringing that to you again tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the YouTube channel. And then following on Sunday, Nikol Pashinyan indicated that come Tuesday on May 1st, that he expects everybody to be flooding the streets of Yerevan. Everybody, he said, indicating people from across the country to come in and flood the streets and participate in the acts of civic disobedience, public protest, and demonstrations on the day that the vote will take place for the interim prime minister position. The rally will come back to Yerevan starting on Sunday, April 29th. It will continue on Monday, April 30th, the day that the nominations for the interim prime minister must be made. And then we will finalize that again with the protests or with the movement taking place on Monday, May 1st, with the same day as the vote will take place. As the group went to Gyumri today, the streets of Yerevan have been much more quiet. The action you can see on camera is in Gyumri. On CivilNet, we have been providing context and articles providing context, interviews with academics, with individuals participating in this movement, with activists, to help provide some context as to where this movement is, where it's come from, and also where it's going to go in terms of how this will or can play out. We have mentioned again that the Republican Party currently has the majority in Parliament. If you look at the numbers with the Zarukian Alliance and the Yelk faction, if they do team up, they are looking at 40 votes. And then the Republican Party currently has 58. The ARF Tashnaksuchun does have 7. They have taken themselves out of the coalition with the Republican Party. However, they have not indicated as a group where those votes might go. One of their members has indicated that he will be putting his support behind Nikol Pashinyan in this process, but we are not sure of those other 6 votes with the ARF Tashnaksuchun. On CivilNet.am, again, we have some of those articles. We also put together an article in which trying to highlight the differences in coverage that people are seeing throughout the world of the protests by different publications and from where those publications originate from. Again, we've seen that certain publications in the United States, Newsweek specifically, the way that they described the protests were that they were violent protests. And it was interesting to see how that informed the coverage of it. Also, one of the articles we highlighted was from Eurasia.net and how they talked about the peaceful protest that led to the resignation of Serge Sargsyan. We encourage people to read that article to be able to see the differences in coverage that are taking place throughout the world. We encourage you to go to civilnet.com to see our coverage and to see that perspective. But we do think it's important to recognize that the coverage here on the streets has been seen as relatively peaceful. There has certainly been clashes at the early stage on the second day of these protests. But it is something to note for you, the viewer, and the audience to see where the perspectives are coming from, what these perspectives are, and how the messages are being reported on and conveyed here from Armenia. We want to once again thank you for watching our coverage on CivilNet TV here on YouTube, and we will be coming back to you live tomorrow with coverage in Vanadzor, and then again back here on Sunday. You've been watching CivilNet TV. Follow us on CivilNet TV on Facebook and Twitter. You can read our articles on civilnet.am. Thank you very much and have a good evening.